In the Heights, Finding Home is the book-length story of the life of the show turned musical In the Heights. It begins in 1999 when a young, creative writer and director decides he wants to see a show that reflects his life. And it culminates 22 years later when that initial impulse has turned into a major motion picture that has just been released to theaters and to streaming services all over the world. And in between, we get to experience some of the lives of the people who were essential to making the show and the movie. We get to understand how they came to depend on one another, how they became like a family, not just in New York, but in places all around the world, and how in their search for a home, they actually found one in each other. So this is the second project with Lin, and like the first project, it moves pretty fast. I mean, the good news is Lin and I have been friends for a long time at this point, and so the shorthand has gotten pretty short. It's a joy to have the chance to do this with him because, like everybody, even though we've been friends for years, there are things I've always wanted to know about Lin and about his process. And if I am taking notes during a conversation, then I get to ask him things that I might not have it might not feel appropriate to ask him otherwise. One example is, so remember that time when you freestyle rapped your Tony acceptance speech in front of a live national audience on television in 2008? What was actually going through your mind, moment by moment, as he was making it up? And now he told me, and now it's in the book. But with both of these books, they add up in a very particular way. There's so much of Lin in both of these shows, in Hamilton, which was the subject of the first book, and now in the Heights, that they fit together. As much as they're about the two shows, they're books about him and about what it was like for this young artist who didn't see himself reflected, felt like if anyone was going to tell a story that he had a place in, it was going to have to be him. And then how he actually pulled it off. And so I hope when you come away from the story of these two books that we've done now, Hamilton and In the Heights, you get a reasonably full picture of this is where the guy came from, this is what he's achieved, and hopefully these are the doors that he's opened for the people coming up behind him. That is a very big, difficult question to answer, but it's one that we spent a year talking about, Lin and Kiara and I. And before I got involved with the project, it's something that they thought about and worked on for 15 years, because home and what it means and how we find it is the subject of In the Heights. It's what each of the characters is trying to figure out. It's one of the things that I think gives the movie, and before that, the show, the resonance that it has, because we know, it's not my observation, it's statistics, that we live in the age of migration. Around the world, more people are picking up stakes and moving to a new place than ever before in human history. And so that question, what does home mean, is something that is being asked now, right now, not as a sort of thought experiment, but in very real and specific ways by so many people. One of the ways that I've found a way into telling this story is actually noticing from spending time with Lin that for him, this show about home was a way of him trying to find a place where he belonged. All the parts of his complicated life about growing up in a household where people spoke Spanish, but then going to a school where no one did, being from New York, but spending time with family in Puerto Rico, loving musical theater, but also loving hip hop. And Lin is not, exceptional in the sense of having different parts of himself that he's trying to accommodate. This story, I hope, not just Lin's story, but all of it about In the Heights, is hopefully going to resonate with people who are asking this question right now. And as for the way I answer the question, I don't want to spoil it, but I did, by the end of spending this year with Lin and Kiara, thinking it through, talking with them, I did come up with a sort of succinct version of what I think it is. And it's the last sentence that I wrote for the book. So go read the last chapter, and that's where you'll see my attempt to answer it.